Hello everybody, we are taking this Facebook moment to talk about prison relocation and the change of heart and outlook that the state has about rehabilitating prisoners. We have our panel joining us, Commissioner Pollock, Representative Hutchings, Representative Noel. So in a minute, let's talk about juveniles. How are they fitting into where we're going with the new look at how we rehabilitate?
There have been some really interesting national studies done over the last decade, really in depth, covering hundreds of thousands of youth. And what we have found is that the vast majority of them, thinking about incarceration in an entirely new way, is that when you send a kid in to do hard time, to teach them a lesson, typically the lesson they're learning is they come out pretty hardcore. They come out a much worse kid than they went in. And then you've got that same individual back in your community again. And so with juveniles, we are looking at things very differently. We have facilities around the state, programs around the state, but we're now looking at it more of why. What's got them doing that? What are their issues? Because if we don't solve the why and we put them straight back in the community, you got exactly the same problem, only now they're smarter, they're tougher, they're a lot more hardcore than they used to be. And so incarceration is not usually the answer for a kid. Lots of programming and things like that are a much better solution to creating a safer community.
So many of these kids, Chad, they come from families and homes where the parent might have been in prison. I know a brother-in-law of mine, he went to jail, prison. He's now had 2 sons go to prison, a daughter go to prison, and you'll see if things don't change, their children will go too. So there's a pattern there, and it goes back to the home. These are things that haven't been taught in the home. So you've got to do that really careful balance between justice and mercy. Let them come to a realization of what they've done, where they're going to be, and give them an expectation and something, at least some hope in their life, that they can change their life and come out. They'll be happier. These kids are not happy. They're unhappy kids. That's why there's anger. There's pent-up anger inside. So I'm not excusing them. I'm not saying that they shouldn't do some time, but while they're in there, take that time when you've got their attention to teach them the things and life skills that they can do to compete and to come back out in the world and contribute instead of just having this revolving door going.
Okay, so the critics are going to say you're going to go too soft on them, and they'll pulse the system and they'll take advantage of your trying to be good guys. What say you guys?
Go ahead. Some of them will. Some of them really will. So we've got to be careful. One of the ways that we're doing that, and one of the ways that has proven to be successful with that, is you don't just have a big step. One day you're in lockup, and the next day, ta-da, welcome back home, and nobody's supervising, nobody's looking over your shoulder. I'll give you a classic example. We had a judge down in Richfield that quit sentencing kids to 30 days in lockup and started sentencing them to 15 weekends. Well, you want to make an impression on a kid, you take away every weekend for an entire summer, and you got a kid who's pretty frustrated about the way he's been behaving, but you don't really know until you give him a chance to prove whether or not, is it real, or are you just faking it just to be able to get your time reduced or something like that. And so that's the element that we're adding in, is a lot more supervision, a lot more time spent with these kids talking about what's causing their problems, where are they coming from. It's all being done in lockup. I mean, so don't think for a second we're doing this outside in a park on a merry-go-round. These kids are still behind bars. Yep. It's just we're not just ignoring them while they're behind bars. We're trying to figure out, how did you get here, and do you want to come back? Because if you don't want to come back, we got to make sure we figure out how to make sure you don't come back.
Great. This is a great thought, great stimulation. You can check out thecountyseat.tv to get more on this conversation, and look for our show this weekend. It'll be on that very topic. Thanks for joining us for this minute.